I know, it's great though. Hey everyone, I'm Karaleigh. This is the Canadian release of me and Nathan's album, or EP, High in the Clouds. So thanks for coming. Thank you so much. So the first song we're going to play is called High in the Clouds. It's the name of the album. And me and Nathan actually wrote this like internationally. So I was in Alabama. I'm from Alabama, and he's living here. And so he would send me tracks, and I would send back voice memos of me singing over the tracks, and that's how we got it all done. And then we met up in Atlanta and recorded it. So Phil Patterson, he's not here tonight, but Phil Patterson, I don't know if y'all know who that is. He wrote the actual like guitar parts to this song, and then Brad Neufeld over here wrote the bass line. So give a hand for Brad. He's been playing bass for a while, and we're so lucky to have him in the band.
Here's to Alabama.
Yeah, he's from Alabama. No. Yeah, to Alabama. Me and Nathan actually met in Nashville. I was an intern at a nonprofit over there, and he was visiting because he knows the people over there. And we actually made the second song that we're playing tonight there at the nonprofit. So, alright, this first song's called High in the Clouds. Whoa. Alright, so this next one is called Make Me Feel. Who has ever like had a pen pal that you just like, who's ever had a pen pal in general? Raise your hand if you had a pen pal. Have you ever had a crush on that pen pal? No? Alright. Well, one time I had a crush on a pen pal and I realized it's never gonna happen, but I'm like, I just wanna like feel, you know, girly emotions. I just wanna feel like I'm yours, you know what I'm saying? So that's what this song is about.
I feel
Alright, so once again, this band is the original band from the album. This is Brad Neufeld. Give it up for Brad Neufeld, everyone. Yeah! This is Jared Camp. We're gonna do a little solo, some action, please. A little solo. Oh! That's Jared Camp, everyone. And Nathan McKay on drums and my beautiful partner. And Karaleigh. So this next song was written at night. It's like I was listening to it. I had 2 jobs at the time, and I was listening to it in my car, and I actually wrote most of these songs in my car. And so I was listening to it, and it just felt like kind of like a city. And you'll hear it whenever it comes on. It kind of just feels like a city, like New York or something, and like an alley almost. So I was like, oh my gosh. It's just like a word popped up in my head, criminals, and I was like, but what do I even write about, like, in terms of criminals? And so it's just kind of about, like, not necessarily getting your worth, like, from, like, knowing your value outside of, like, the people around you, just, like, knowing who you are, not having to depend on the people around you for that. I like swaying. Go ahead. Sway. Open up your eyes, stalk your streets, stuff the weeks of bad intentions. It's not your time, I don't mind to verify. You should open up your eyes, yeah, yeah. You should open up your eyes. Tell about the world, tell about the world. So this next song is called Be Alright, and I'm a pretty committed person, I would say. I like to, if I have a friend, if you're one of my friends, I'm pretty committed to you, so that's kind of what this is about, being here for your friends. A little cheesy, but... Alright, you guys are gonna have to clap. This next one is very different from the other ones that we've done so far. It's called Inspire Me, and it's actually just about us writing songs at night. We literally never wrote songs during the day. When I was writing the album, I literally was never writing during the day, never took inspiration during the day, which we thought was kind of interesting. So we call this one Inspire Me.
Probably. Yeah.
Alright, so this next one is called Look, and it's a pretty personal one to me. It's about my relationship with the Lord. If you guys don't believe in Christianity, that's totally fine, but I have a relationship with the Lord, and this is about that.
Tell her who features on it, the rappers.
Oh yeah. So Caboose is the first one. I've actually never met him through Instagram and stuff, but never in person. And the second one is Brandon Burke, and he actually lives in Atlanta. So we recorded with him in Atlanta while we were there at his house. He literally threw down lines in like 5 minutes. Like he literally wrote his part in 5 minutes, which was kind of crazy. And we had I was holding like a pillow right next to him to make the sound dead. So we didn't even record it in the studio. It turned out so good. Ow! last song is called Ever Be, and it's actually about, I had it inspired by a manager that I had at my workplace, because I was not cut out for the job, but they were like, oh, I just want you to do this, like I was about to get fired, and I was just like, it's not a job for me. But I wrote it kind of inspired by that because any person who just thinks you're not like good enough, it's really hard. Any type of relationship, friendship that you have, like it's really hard to have a person not think that you're like good enough in their eyes. You know what I'm saying? So this is kind of about that. Yeah.
Yeah, this song is actually on the album is the most internationally collaborated song because I was actually in Jamaica. After my dad died, he asked me to do two things. He wanted me to relive his favorite 1976 vacation in Jamaica. So I took a couple weeks there. I actually stayed with Andrew Bailey's aunt for a week. And then at Andrew Bailey's aunt's house in Jamaica, I went down there and I wrote this song. And I sent the drums to Jaron in St. Mary's. He did his guitar part, and you said something like you thought it was just a demo, but I loved it so much. Yeah, and so then I sent it off to Kevin Swartwood, who some of you may know. He's from Stratford, and he married a girl that he met on wing night at Molly Bloom's from the UK. He fell in love with her and took off. So, but Kevin was a really good musician in this town, and he often played at the Yager Jams and stuff. So we sent the song to him, and he added the bass line. And then we sent that to Karaleigh in Alabama, and she recorded the vocals in the chorus on the back. And then we met in Atlanta to record the final vocals. And down there was actually like this Airbnb that we got that was owned by the Atlanta Braves. It's like 3 towers, and it's like a really intentional community. It's almost like imagine if the Sky Dome was in Stratford. So you didn't have to drive anywhere. You could just like walk, like go to Revel, go for a drink here, get a barber cut, go see a baseball game. So it was like a really cool place to record this album, and it was neat to send the tracks all around the world to different friends. Even on the one track, we had our friend play violin in Nashville, and I actually met him for the first time in April. I'm like, hey, you're the dude that played on our album that Karaleigh knew. So it's just kind of funny. And then he's actually dating a girl from London, Ontario. So it's just kind of funny how it all comes together. But he's from down there, and so yeah, it's a really inspired, project. Working with Karaleigh was a real pleasure. I actually met her in a cafe the size of Revel, and within 10 minutes she was like a sound girl playing. So testing some speakers out, playing Hiatus Coyote, and I was like, what the heck is this? It's like jazz fusion, neo soul, and we got talking about it because I was actually taking a neo soul course online at the time, and I'm like, you like this stuff? And I'm like, I don't know anybody who really likes this stuff. So within 10 minutes I asked her to record and changed my life because she said yes that day, and we recorded for 2 hours, almost like on the equivalent of the couch at Revel, if anybody's been to Revel, and there was like maybe 1 or 2 people in the cafe, but the next day when we had to do background vocals, there was 35 people on a games night playing. And so we actually recorded all the background vocals in an office at the cafe, and somehow it turned out great. And when people heard the second song, which appeared on my album, Glow and Chill, people were like, you need to record with her again. But I'm like, she lives in the US, so it was just kind of like a vacation happening. And they're like, no, you gotta go after this. And so yeah, we just made it happen and sent files back and forth for a couple months, and then worked on the album. So this is the last song of the album. I'm just really happy to have Jaron, who wrote this song with me, be here to play it live. And it's a really multi-generational thing. Brad was my dad's bass player in the 70s and 80s and different parts of life. And so really feel honored to have Brad, be in my dad's absence. He would be, really emotional now if he knew that Brad and I were playing together, because it was my dad's favorite bass player. So I'm really glad you guys can experience this together. And this song is our song that's kind of influenced by the group Zoology, if you ever heard of them.
That's right.
And they're an international duo, and that kind of really encouraged Karaleigh and I that it was possible. If Zoology can do it, so can we. So here's our Zoology.
Y'all gonna have to get high blood on this one.
Chico Brad.
But as of now, I guess you don't want me to. I wanna love you guys after the show. Right now, though, me and Jaren are gonna do. Are we gonna have a break before?
It's like a 3 or 4 minute break.
We're gonna have a 5-minute break, and then me and Jaren are gonna do some of my acoustic stuff that I've been writing this year. So stick around for that.
Thank you.
Also, my beautiful sister Melody is in the back, and she is our merch girl tonight. So if you want some merch, hit her up. We got t-shirts in the back designed by Claire. She's wearing it right there.